Good evening, everyone. My name is Christy Allen. I'm a lawyer with the law firm Davidson Houle Allen. We act as legal counsel to your condominium corporation. We've been asked to be here tonight to assist with the chairing and the hosting of tonight's meeting, which we're happy to do. Just to introduce you to some of the names and faces that you see up on your screen at the moment. My associate, Emily Dang, is here with me. She's going to be assisting with the technology and the back end of the meeting. So when it comes time for a vote, she will be assisting with that process. And so you'll hear from her shortly on that. As well, Noah Johnson is here, who is your condominium manager. And we have a number of members of the board with us as well. So Hayden Baptiste is your board president. Alan Drake is your vice president. Sharon Deep Tumber is a director. Cassandra Liu is the treasurer. And Robert Tai is also a director, whose name is also up on the screen. And last but not least, I did forget to introduce Bisan McDaddy, who is the assistant property manager to this condominium corporation. So welcome, everybody. I'm going to be just following through the agenda that was included in the meeting package that you all received. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And so it's 6:01, we're calling the meeting to order. And Emily, I'm just going to ask you to confirm our numbers for tonight, please.
So currently we have 151 total units in person and by proxy.
Perfect, thank you. And your quorum for your condominium is 67 units. So condominium corporations require 25% of their ownership in attendance for any meetings of owners to take place. In this case, tonight's meeting is a special meeting of owners, as you all are aware. It's for a vote on the removal of one of the directors, Robert Tai. A vote of this nature requires a vote. It requires a majority vote of all unit owners within the condominium corporation. So in your case, that does require 134 units voting in favor of the motion in order for it to pass. As we do have more than that number of owners represented here tonight, we will proceed with the meeting and with the vote. All right, so without further ado, we will get into the business of the meeting. Item number 3 on your agenda is for Mr. Robert Tai to provide some remarks with respect to the subject matter of tonight's vote. So I'm going to turn it over to Robert.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Just to confirm, do I have 15 minutes to state my case?
Yes, so just to clarify for all owners, while the agenda indicated that each of Mr. Robert Tai and the board of directors would have 2 minutes to present their comments or provide their comments to the ownership, having received some commentary from Mr. Tai, we've changed that. So each sort of group or individual will have 15 minutes. So Mr. Tai will have 15 minutes and then the board will have 15 minutes to provide their comments.
Robert, I'll just note your video's not on, bud.
May I start?
Yeah, your video is not running though, just so you know, I can't see it.
May I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Tai, and I serve as a volunteer director on the board of directors of the Claridge Moon Condo. I was voted into this position at the turnover meeting from Claridge Homes in May 2024, and today the rest of the board of directors and/or Sentinel Management are seeking my removal as director. I have already sent out mass mailings to all of the unit owners here with written responses for the 7 allegations made against me. However, for the next 15 minutes or so, I will address in more detail some of the main allegations made against me and explain how we arrived at this point today. Allegation 1. Mr. Tai has, in his capacity as a director of the condo, filed a complaint against Sentinel Management with the Condo Management Regulatory Authority of Ontario. This allegation is true. I filed complaints with the CMRAO as an individual director, not as a representative of the board. This was in response to what I allege are numerous deficiencies in the proper management of the Moon Condo by Sentinel Management. Bizarrely, it seems that the rest of the board is turning a blind eye to the issues I have raised, at both BOD meetings and through email communications regarding Sentinel Management's performance as a condo manager. The CMRAO complaint is filed under ID CN-007426 and is still ongoing. I have continually sent the CMRAO additional documentation and evidence to support my allegations and continue to do so as a responsible director of the board with the best interests of the unit owners and the condo corporation in mind. Allegation 4. Mr. Tai has threatened legal action against the corporation's superintendent for alleged defamation and libel. This was not a threat. This was a promise. After initially consulting and retaining a defamation lawyer, I have gone ahead and filed a claim against Fursan, the superintendent of the condo originally selected by Sentinel Management before the current board of directors came into power, at the Ontario Small Claims Court with claim ID SC 240016908700000. I am suing Small Claims Court because I'm not interested in excessive financial compensation. I'm more interested in an apology from Fursan for lying in his email about me. Regarding my libel claim against Fursan, he wrote in an email that I had personally phoned him and told him that he was being dishonest with me. This is completely false, as I have never spoken to Fursan in person or over the phone before. This libelous statement damaged my reputation in front of the eyes of the employees at Sentinel Management, as well as the board of directors, who now seek a meeting of the condo owners to remove me as director. There were at least 3 statements Fursan made in his email to Sentinel Management and the board of directors which seemed to be false. 1. Fursan's email was titled, quote, resignation letter, end quote, and he claimed he would resign from his position as superintendent. So far, he has not resigned from his position, so he claimed he would be doing something in his email, and then he went against his own words. Number 2, Fursan wrote that he was, quote, using money from our own pockets to achieve or get even a little closer to that goal, end quote. I interpreted this statement to mean that Fursan was using his own personal money to buy things for the benefit of the Condominium Corporation. When I challenged Sentinel Management on this statement, they claimed that they had no idea what he was saying. So now we have a situation where Fursan made a claim in his email that even Sentinel Management disputes. Number 3, Fursan in his email wrote, quote, it has gotten worse when I received a phone call from Mr. Tai sometime last week telling me that I have not been honest regarding Sentinel Management's way of handling things and that I may be sued if this continues, end quote. This statement is completely false because I have never spoken to Fursan in person or over the phone. I do not even know what Fursan's phone number is. It is clear to me that this statement was written to damage my reputation in front of Sentinel Management and the board of directors, and I have every intention to defend myself against lies made about me, even if I have to seek justice in the Ontario courts of law. Allegation 5. Mr. Tai has, purportedly in his capacity as a director of the condo, alleged that Sentinel Management has provided poor advice to the board, engaged in poor financial management, withheld essential information, and failed to comply with the board's directives. So to address poor advice to the board and poor financial management, I have 2 examples. The first is this. Sentinel Management has repeatedly recommended that the board of directors approve a bid for work to be done on the shared hydro vault, which is shared between our Claridge Moon Condo, as well as 2 separate towers owned by Claridge Homes. Sentinel Management refuses to explain why they continually ignore the existing shared facilities agreement the condo has with Claridge Homes, which clearly states that Claridge Homes is responsible for the maintenance and repair of shared facilities, including the shared hydro vault. Why is Sentinel Management asking our condo to pay for and do the work when Claridge Homes is clearly responsible here? Another example of poor advice to the board. Sentinel Management is demanding $150 per hour to serve as the Tyrion designate for our condo. I have volunteered to serve as the condo's Tyrion designate for free, and I even received email confirmation from Tyrion themselves that it is very common for volunteer directors of the board to serve as the Tyrion designate for free. Sentinel Management is in a clear conflict of interest here because they are suggesting a course of action which they themselves would potentially profit from greatly. The unit owners should be very concerned that the condo's money, paid for by the unit owners' monthly condo fees, would be wasted in this fashion. Point C, withheld essential information. One day, I was on Google Maps and I came across a Google Maps review of our condo, which I assume was written by a renter. In that Google Maps review, I discovered that there was an incident where, quote, someone's balcony crashed, end quote. Before I read that email, I had no idea that such a serious accident happened with our condo. I investigated this issue by asking Sentinel Management if someone's balcony indeed crashed, and Sentinel Management admitted that this was true. At the time, Sentinel Management tried to downplay the issue, even though this represented a serious concern for the condo, because the risk of this was that this could happen with all the balconies of the condo, meaning that this was a potential safety issue, which also concerned the Terry-on Common Elements warranty for the condo, because all of the balconies of the condo are common elements. In my view, this was a clear case of Sentinel Management's incompetence. The directors should have been informed of this incident right away. I should not have had to have learned of this incident 1 month after it occurred by reading it on a Google Maps review. D. Failed to comply with the board's directives. There was an incident in the condo where a water leak on the ceiling of the mailroom forced the closure of the mailroom for about a week due to repairs. The problem is that this notice of closure came on the same day the mailroom was closed off to the residents of the condo. The condo residents were not given sufficient notice that the mailroom would be closed off, meaning that if they had essential mail they were expecting, they wouldn't be able to access it. This is despite the fact that either Sentinel Management or the condo employees were aware that the closure was coming. After this incident, the board of directors agreed to the following at the August 21st BOD meeting. Quote, management is to provide condo staff a means of directly communicating with the BOD and ensure that staff communicate directly with both management and the BOD on issues which may impact the daily operations of the condo, end quote. To this date, I have seen zero progress on this action item. The entire board of directors needs to be aware of these issues as they arise, and if Sentinel Management does not comply with this directive, the condo risks similar incidents like this, or perhaps even worse, occurring in the future. I will end my arguments here. If there are any other unit owners who want more information about my allegations, please email me at rob.san.thai@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tai. Next on the agenda is comments from the board. I do want to provide a few comments as the corporation's legal counsel with respect to the issues that have been raised in the context of this motion for removal of Mr. Tai. As legal counsel to the Condominium Corporation, my biggest concern is that Mr. Tai appears to have no intention to engage with the current board. And that's a big concern from a corporate operations perspective. My understanding is that Mr. Tai has not attended a board meeting since the end of August, and he has had no involvement with the board since then in terms of board operations. And instead of engaging with the board, he's engaged in behavior that effectively undermines board decision-making by questioning decisions that have been made by the board and undertaking what he calls to be individual investigations into the decisions that are made and actions that have been taken by the corporation's property manager. Overall, the behavior from Mr. Tai suggests that he has no interest in participating as a member of the board, but is rather pursuing issues that he personally believes to be important to the condominium. This is ultimately problematic because if boards become dysfunctional when individual members are operating individually, even if they are doing so with the desire to act in the interests of the corporation, if they're all proceeding with their own agenda as to what's important to the condominium, nothing is going to be done on behalf of the corporation. So the corporation's operations essentially come to a standstill as a result of that kind of way of conducting business. Ultimately, in order for boards to function properly, it's important for members to engage with one another, obviously to hear one another out. Boards are going to disagree, members are going to disagree on issues, and that's expected and it's welcomed because only through disagreement are you going to have a fulsome discussion and debate about the issues that are of concern to the condominium as a whole. And ultimately, the purpose of that kind of debate is that boards will come to a decision that they collectively determine is in the best interest of the corporation. That's the ideal way for boards to operate. It's not ideal for individual members to be essentially not engaging and instead engaging in their own individual, what I'll call agendas with respect to what should be important to the condominium. So from a legal perspective, those are the main concerns that I would have with respect to the behavior that I've seen in terms of the communications and observations. At this point, I am going to turn it over to the board directly. So Hayden Baptiste is going to start, I believe.
Hi there. I'm the president of the Condo Corporation. And first of all, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight and attending this owners meeting. I'm sure you can hear some of the challenges that we're facing. So the proposal to remove Robert Tighe from the board of directors arises from a consistent pattern of behavior that has disrupted the board's operations. Robert has refused to work collaboratively with the board, citing his personal dislike for Sentinel Management. However, Sentinel Management was chosen by the board, and after careful deliberation, primarily due to the significant workload required to meet critical deadlines, particularly the performance audit. While the board focused on meeting these deadlines and managing the challenges of our first year, including regular correspondence with tenants and homeowners, Robert independently initiated a legal dispute with the former superintendent of the corporation over harassment claim made against him. This could have been reasonably resolved amicably through dialogue and with the board's support. Instead, Robert escalated the matter into a legal issue without consulting the board, exposing the corporation to potential liability risks. Robert has repeatedly made public statements about the condo board, Sentinel Management, and the developer Claridge to major media outlets, including the Ottawa Citizen and CBC, by way of threats. Additionally, he contacted the workplace of board member Sharon, falsely claiming she was involved in a legal dispute, potentially jeopardizing her job. These actions have caused considerable stress for the board, Sentinel Management, and Claridge. And shockingly, Robert has not apologized for his behavior. It is deeply disappointing that this level of conflict arose just weeks into the board's term. Initially, Robert chaired our board meetings, but stepped down from that position due to dissatisfaction with Sentinel Management. Since then, he has refused to attend board meetings, correspond with the board, or engage constructively. Instead, he has sent numerous offensive emails, often targeting individuals on the board, Sentinel or Claridge, and this behavior has been thoroughly documented and reviewed by our legal counsel, who strongly supports the need for Robert's removal from the board. He is without question trying to create a toxic work environment for both the board and Sentinel. The internal conflict has cost the corporation over $10,000 in unnecessary legal fees, funds that should have been allocated to maintaining a healthy operational budget and securing the reserve fund for long-term needs. Protecting the reserve fund is critical to safeguarding homeowners against potential costly assessments in the future, especially for structural issues that may arise outside the warranty period. The board decided to move forward with Sentinel Management after thorough due diligence, including firsthand insights from board members at our sister building, the Claridge Icon. They shared their positive experiences with Sentinel, explaining how they successfully addressed challenges after firing their previous property manager. Unfortunately, Robert chose not to attend this important meeting as it did not align with his personal agenda. It is important to note that our contract with Sentinel includes a 60-day termination clause, providing us the flexibility to end the partnership if their performance does not meet expectations. Sentinel's expertise, experience with Claridge properties, and commitment to supporting us through the performance audit were key factors in our decision. In conclusion, Robert has demonstrated a lack of interest in serving the homeowners effectively. As outlined by the Condominium Authority of Ontario, board members must exhibit leadership, communication, and interpersonal skills while respecting fellow board members, employees, and homeowners. Robert's actions have failed to meet these standards. Our goal is to foster a community free of harassment and to serve homeowners responsibly. As volunteers, we understand the significant time and effort required to achieve this. To succeed, we need a full team of 5 cooperative board members. Currently, we are operating with 4 and are seeking Robert's removal to allow for the addition of a 5th member who shares our commitment to collaboration and progress. We may not always agree, but rules unite the community and we must follow them. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Hayden. I think next on the list is Cassandra.
Hi, everyone. So I'm the treasurer on the condo board. When we initially started, the vision that we had for the condo was just to ensure that the owners felt safe and had a good experience within the new building. I'm not entirely sure why Robert wants to stay on the board because he hasn't entirely shown that he wants to improve on anything in the building because he has a list of issues, but at the same time, he doesn't attend any of the board meetings to address it with any of the other board members. Personally, I've never met Robert before because he's never attended any of the in-person meetings that we've organized as a board. But for someone I've never met, it's been extremely stressful and overwhelming, to say the least, to deal with him just because of how he would constantly be threatening and blaming us for anything wrong doing and messaging us all hours of the day from 3 in the morning until late in the evening. So after I found out that he had reached out to Sharon's workplace, I actually stopped talking to him completely just because I didn't want my job to be on the line to deal with his unpredictable behavior. So for us as the board, it's just kind of important to maintain good relationships with all of our employees, our peers, and most importantly, Claridge, simply because they are ultimately the people at the top who will have the final say when we are negotiating contracts that will benefit owners in this building. So having Robert just constantly berating Claridge with emails and then posting negative reviews online of the building that we all live in is extremely distasteful, and it can harm the reputation of the building in itself, which can cause a lot of issues for the owners just because a lot of the owners in the buildings have renters as well. So it's really just taking a lot of the board's time doing damage control and what he's doing without our knowledge, where we could be spending it resolving other issues that are more important in the building so that owners are able to have a better experience overall. Just to respond to Robert's claim in regards to he's offered to volunteer to do the performance audit for free, but he hasn't really shown that he has experience, and we would rather do this correctly and not deal with any issues in the future than have it done incorrectly and then pay for the consequences afterwards out of our own pocket. So we've actually hired Evan, who does work with Sentinel at the Icon, but he is familiar with the Claridge buildings. And we've also hired Keller Engineering, who has experience in this. So at the end of the day, it's not about the cost, it's about the experience and doing it right the first time around. So at the end of the day, regardless of who we hire and who works for us, his tactic of constant harassment and bullying it will ultimately leave the owners with the worst contracts and outcomes because of the negotiation process that he has on the board. And it's not going to reflect well on us as a whole. So for me, what I want, before you vote today, I want to emphasize the importance that this is not just a conflict within the board. It also affects the owners in the beginning or in the building because it will financially impact us if he continues to go down this path.
Thank you, Cassandra. Next, we have Sharon.
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to voice about my challenges I have faced with Robert on the board, specifically about him contacting my employment to my senior management at work. His email, he sent an email to my director. It entailed a statement that he was exploring potential legal action due to libel and defamation made against him, but with no details on the statement. This resulted in confusion from my director at work, who had no idea what he was talking about. This just interfered with my employment relationship with my director and I, with an apparent view to attack on my character with these unfounded claims. You could also say this was an attempt at damaging my reputation as well. And on top of all this, his refusal to attend key board meetings, both virtually and in person, and spreading misinformation to media outlets. They have further obstructed our responsibilities as a board, and also damaged our board's reputation as well. I believe that this role, to be on the board, it requires professionalism and collaboration. But Robert's behavior violates the Condominium Authority of Ontario's guidelines and undermines our ability to serve homeowners effectively. So to end with this, we ask for your careful consideration on this matter, because it does significantly impact our ability to fulfill our responsibilities for the homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And last but not least, Alan.
Hi, I'm Alan Drake. I'm the VP of the condo board. So I just have 2 or 3 quick things. So Robert emailing the employer, there was no obvious reason for that. I can't connect the dots there. Basically, I'm completely mystified. And it got to the point where I actually asked for his resignation, and he refused because, like, there's just absolutely no reason. It's totally unacceptable. I don't know why he would do that. If he contacts my family, we all have to be concerned about that type of behavior. To me, it's like a stalker type behavior. Using the courts to sue an employee for defamation is fairly dangerous. The spillover exposure that we could have from a retaliatory lawsuit is real, and who would pay for that is potentially the owners, the condo board, and the owners of the condominium. We've already had to engage legal, and the cost is not small. It's under 10,000, but it's significant, and that's coming out of everyone's pocket. If you do the math, 263 units or so, $40 a unit in legal fees. So that $40 is coming out of your pockets. And this was deemed necessary by the board and by legal. And as already mentioned, his tone is often rude and critical rather than collaborative. And I've never met him either. So that's all I have to say. Please vote to remove him from the board.
Thank you, Alan. All right, we will take questions from owners at this point in time. We are going to have the vote once the questions are done. If you do have questions either for Mr. Tai or any of the other directors who you've heard from, you can ask those questions now. You can just raise your virtual hand, and what we will do is ask you to unmute. So when you get the prompt on your end to unmute, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. So I think we have a couple hands up here.
Hi, my name is Hanif. I am the owner in this building. I don't live there, but I'm the owner. What I'm trying to understand is that if there are some concerns raised by this gentleman, how are we going to handle them once he is not the board member? He still is the owner, and he still will have all the accessibilities to talk about, because we have free speech. So, what are we doing as the building owners or members or directors to ensure that we have actually tackled the checklist to say this is no longer an issue, and move on from there, right? Because we don't want these issues to be hanging around for anybody to be followed up. The other thing is that I have been hearing that nobody have seen this gentleman, and it becomes very difficult for anybody to understand who this person is, and then vote on it, right? So we are basically voting on he says, she says kind of argument here, right? So these are my concerns. If you can address them.
I can address some of that. I think Noah can weigh in on some of that as well. First of all, the sheer amount of things that we need to be doing, I think the first answer would be, does it seem like good practice to focus on lawsuits and other things in Sentinel Management when we have hundreds of things that we need to be doing, but we're preoccupied with our engagement with Robert? That would be my first point. Secondly, there's a lot of things that he's speaking about out of turn. First of all, we haven't seen Robert. I've sat with him personally many times, actually, and we had the opportunity to even air out some of our grievances, which he wanted to air out in the lobby of the building in front of people because he didn't want to sit in a private room and respect the privacy of our board discussions. So he has been seen. I want to make that crystal clear to everybody. We do know who Robert is. We have met him. What they mean is when they say they haven't seen him, it's because he hasn't been present at the board meeting specifically, and we have not been engaging. I think it would be expected that we should be able to engage with a person face to face. I mean, you've seen us all. I'm not blacking out my screen. You know who I am. I'm in the building. You can approach me at any time. I think that's important for a board for you to be able to communicate with us. As far as my observation, and I've lived in many buildings in Vancouver, Ontario with ownership. I've seen assessments happen. It can be very costly. These are the things we should be focusing on. We shouldn't be arguing internally on a board. And I can tell you that from what I've seen from Sentinel so far, and what I've seen from the conversations we had with UCCM, and I'll be transparent with Apollo and everybody else, I won't talk numbers with you, but what I'll say is that you'll find bad reviews and good reviews for everybody online. It's not so much about the reviews, it's about what they're doing for us. They've dug Claridge Icon out of a hole. As far as I'm concerned, they had some issues with the developer. That is going to happen. They've been here for us. They've been communicative. That speaks volumes to me. I'll say it again. We have a termination clause of 60 days. That's a fact. I'm not making that up. This is not fiction. If we are not happy with Sentinel's performance, they have agreed with us that we can terminate this contract within that 60-day window period. So I think with all that being said, there's little risk here for us. We have mitigated risk by dealing with it in this manner. As far as Robert's concerned, I would love it if he showed up to meetings and helped us. At this point, I'm no longer comfortable with that, though I'll speak for myself, subjectively here. I'm not comfortable because of his tone and it's just not a way for us to be operating as a board. So for me, the three people that I've been working with, there's a reason there's a 4-to-1 vote here. There's a reason we've been going door to door with mails and trying to speak to people in elevators. Some of you might recognize me because you've spoken to me already. It's because this is a problem and we need to address it soon because I'm not willing to gamble on Robert. Is it a he said, she said? I mean, not really when there's a lawyer present here. Not really when we've gone this far. It's a legitimate problem. And when you're contacting somebody's place of work, that's way outside the bounds of, healthy communication. So I think there's enough there, and I don't have enough time to go down the laundry list. I hope that answers your question.
Maybe just to clarify the first part of the question. So in terms of the sake of this vote, this is for the removal of a director from the board. When you're on a board of directors, you're tasked with sort of the decisions of the corporation. You have to act honestly and in the best interest of all the owners. So inevitably, if any director was removed from any board, they would still be an owner if they still own their unit, and they would still have a vote, they would still have a say, and we would treat all owners similarly in terms of giving them that respect and that ability for them to communicate. I think the purpose of tonight's vote is essentially to remove a director from their ability to make decisions on behalf of all of you as owners. So hopefully that clarifies that first part of the question.
Thank you both for the response and thank you for the question. I should have clarified before we started with the questions, just in terms of procedure, we will allow for one question per owner at a time. You can ask your question and then you'll be muted. Responses will be offered for either, like whether it's the board or Mr. Tai. Both will have an opportunity to provide comments or answer the question. And then that individual who asked the question, you can raise your hand again if you have further questions by way of follow-up. So next we have Maurizio, Unit 2106. I'm just going to allow you to go ahead and unmute yourself. Oops. Sorry. Mauricio, there we go. We can't hear you, Mauricio. I think your mic is not working. Oh. Seems to be coming in and out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm actually, my name is Agustina Gomez. I'm actually Mauricio's partner. I'm also a co-owner of the unit. So to be frank, it's not very clear what the issues are. It seems like it's a lot of she said, he said, and it's like more like some person has to apologize to the other one. And like I agree with many of you that this is probably it. We don't want to be spending our money on lawyer fees and just like, time on fights. But again, like we've received all the information from both sides. It's just like it's from my point of view, maybe I'm missing something, maybe I didn't pay attention, but it's not very clear what the issues are. Like, for example, we haven't also been informed. If I go by the facts provided or the information provided by Robert, it's also concerning for us that Sentinel hasn't informed us of the issues with the balconies. And then we see that a couple of days ago, they visited our units to check on the balconies, but we didn't know why that was happening. So I do agree there's a lack of transparency. But again, it's very unclear as to why there's all this, conflict. Even though we've been provided with some information, for me, it seems like from my perspective, it's like, I don't know, it's not clear. Maybe I'm missing some of the facts. I would like to have more information. I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to put any obstacles to the board's functioning by not voting or just voting against some decisions. But at this point, it's like not very, my partner and I feel like it's not very clear as to what is happening and why things escalated so quick. Again, I'd be happy to discuss, but that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
I think that's a great question. I think you're pointing it out. It's that there's dysfunction in the board and there's a 4-1 vote to remove an individual. With regards to the balcony, all I can say to that, I can't speak on behalf of Sentinel. All I can say is that is, that might be a failure on their part, to be fair, of course, but there are going to be failures with things, especially you have to remember when you're developing a building and it's starting from scratch, there's so much going on in the building. Like if I don't know if some of you were here earlier on and you saw like, there were some things that were slipping through the cracks. I'm sure you can see that that's still an ongoing thing and that this is a process. And this is why the communication has to happen. It's not just Sentinel or Claridge or the board for that matter. We have to all work together to be able to, to handle, whatever comes our way in terms of, tasks, issues. We want to hear all of you. I've seen, obviously, Mauricio, some of your emails and whatnot. And it's all very important that we have this open communication. You use the word transparency. I agree. Like that's really important. So this is part of that transparency here, just to open up the floor, talk about some of these issues, and to help you understand that when we're talking about somebody that has their own personal agenda, that is it essentially. We could say nothing else. That is the conflict of interest here, is that somebody has gone rogue and is doing something outside of, the guidelines of how a board should be operating. There are specific issues. Yes, the shared facilities agreement, these are things that are going to take time that we have to negotiate with Claridge and Sentinel, therefore, on behalf of us. There's going to be a number of things that are going to come up. We're not going to win everything. Our objective is to win as much as possible, that we can control our operational budget, we can control the reserve fund, and essentially not find ourselves in a position in the future where we see ourselves dealing with a number of unforeseen things, because of poor management. And for us to manage effectively, we have to be a cohesive unit. We're not all supposed to agree. There's things I'll tell you right now that Robert has said that I agreed with in the past, but the problem is just our ability to work together. So this isn't as simple as just, oh, well, if he stays on the board, we will work together. He has not been attending board meetings. He is not interested in engaging with us because of his issues with Sentinel specifically. He's entitled to that as a homeowner, absolutely. And we're not saying, I mean, anybody's entitled to that for that matter. In fact, if you wanted us all to resign, we would oblige. It's not about that for us. It's really about, we have been showing up and we've been doing the work, and we've been doing it exclusively since day one. And we've been working, you know, as everybody else, as volunteers. We just want you to understand that this is not personal for me with Robert, and I can't speak on behalf of everyone else, but it's not personal. This is just business. It's the business of the corporation. We just want to move forward, essentially, and have your support.
Thank you, Hayden.
I wanted to make a quick
sorry.
comment too. So just to let you know, there's a process called a performance audit, and that's done it's something similar to your carry-on warranty as an owner. So the main reason that we decided to vote on doing the balcony inspection was because we want to make sure everything's good during that window. We can recover any funds spent. It's very likely we can recover the money if we find the problem within that warranty window. So we're not really here to discuss too much about how things work, but I just thought I would let you know so that you can understand. It was the 4 board members that approved this. Robert, I don't believe, was present for that. So it was us that decided that we should do that. And that's what our job is. So Robert didn't, as far as I'm aware, wasn't involved in getting your balcony inspected to make sure everybody's safe. It was us.
And keep in mind, all of this was happening during COVID with supply chain issues. So we have to be very careful right now. If there's anything that was missed, you know, and anything puts us over budget, that we will be covered, like that deficit will be covered. So just keep that in mind as well. It's like, this is why we're being cautious. We don't want to gamble on board members making decisions. Yes, could it be done? Absolutely. Robert's not wrong. It could be done by a member of the board. We just don't want to gamble. We just don't want to be in a situation. Some of the things you're hearing about these corporations in Toronto, same thing, supply chain issues, a number of issues coming up, and they're underfunded. And the homeowners are paying for that stuff by themselves. And they're having to cover these overages because they don't have adequate reserve funds. This is the type of stuff that Sentinel's been guiding us on. And if everybody could give it a chance and trust this process, it will benefit you in the end. And if it's not working, we have a 60-day termination clause. So everything is there in place to mitigate risk. The key right now is we need to remove an individual who is not working with us. And he's entitled to his opinion as a homeowner, but that's not a board objective. And that's really the main bottom line issue here. Like everything else, it could be viewed as he said statements, of course, absolutely. But at the end of the day, this has been reviewed by a professional, you know, lawyer who's looked at this and understands our dilemma. That's why we're here. And that's why we spent the $10,000. And these are all things that you have to consider. We would not want to waste your money. We're in the same position as you as homeowners as well. So just please keep that in mind.
Yeah, just to reiterate, because this sort of touches on my earlier comments, the main concern from a legal perspective that I have for your condominium is that you have a director who is not participating on the board. And yet he continues to take actions in his capacity as a director and purportedly to advance certain interests that he individually has. But those are not interests that are collectively necessarily shared by the rest of the board. So as has been stated, I think a number of times at this meeting, it's fine for directors to disagree. It's normal and it's expected. It's welcome. Various perspectives and points of view are more than welcome at condominium boards for the purposes of discussion and decision making. The issue here is that you have a director who is not engaging in that way. He is not engaging at all. He's not participating at all. And so you have a 5-member board as established by your bylaws. And right now there are 4 members who are operating and engaging as a collective unit, making decisions collectively that they don't necessarily all agree with, but they're going through the proper procedure of decision making as a board. And then you have an individual director who is taking action on his own, separate and apart from the rest of the board. So that's the concern. There are a couple of questions in the Q&A. The first one is, can Robert speak to the allegations of harassment behavior? Robert, did you want to say a few words with respect to the allegations of harassing behavior?
Sure. So as I already mentioned, I had sent out a physical mail to all of the unit owners because unlike the board of directors, I do not have the email address of all of the unit owners. So I had to pay hundreds of dollars out of my own pocket to communicate my side of the case to the rest of the unit owners. And they already received a copy of the email that Sharon had sent me in response to my request to change my address for service related to my lawsuit, my libel lawsuit against FirstEnd. So the question I actually have is why hasn't Sharon apologized to me for the unprofessional response she provided me in that email?
And that qualifies you to reach out to your work. How about the apology for reaching out to her place of employment?
Christy, you're muted.
I think that's the question, Robert.
Thanks,
why
Noah.
out to her place of employment.
May
That's
I
kind
respond?
of
Yeah, okay, you can go ahead and respond, Robert, and then after your response, we're going to move ahead with questions from owners.
Well, both Sharon and I are federal public servants, and both of us have to adhere to the Federal Public Service Code of Ethics. And this is a code of ethics that guides our actions when we are at work and when we are not at work. I feel that I have followed the code of ethics properly. I can't say the same for Sharon.
interesting. So you think that that was ethical, reaching out to her place of work over an emoji? That is what we're talking about here. We're talking about an emoji that was sent by mistake.
Can I add something before we move on?
Yes, you can add something, Cassandra.
Just to clarify, the moment that, because everyone on the board got that email, the moment we actually received it, Sharon actually reached out to me and said that was a mistake. She was just playing around with features in the app. So if she could have, she would have removed it, and I didn't know how to remove it anyways. I couldn't advise her on that, but I knew from my interactions with Sharon that was a mistake, and she didn't mean to have sent that. But it was by the end of the day, he had already reached out to Sharon's director by that point.
All right, thank you. We're going to go to the next owner with their hand up, which is Kumar Gupta Mukesh, Unit 409. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yeah, this is Mukesh Gupta, Unit Owner 409. Can you hear me first? Just confirmation.
Yes, we can. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, myself is a COA trained person. I've been in many board members before, and now I don't live in a condominium, so I'm not currently, but previously I have been. My direct question would have been to the Robert, which has already been answered. What made him to reach to the employers? Because all members, board members, is a volunteer position. It's not something, which is anybody get paid or something. We should be even rather grateful to our board members who are doing the job. And it's totally a volunteer position. Sometimes I would say thankless job. But I was wondering what made him to go to the individual employers, because that is absolutely not acceptable. But anyway, he has already answered it. So personally, I'm not satisfied with the answer unless he has to say something else. But answer is already been provided. That's it.
Thank you, Mukesh. Robert, did you have anything to add to the answer you already provided on that?
As I mentioned in the physical mail I sent to all the unit owners, I had already provided my written justification for that, and I won't speak anymore on that.
Okay, thank you. Next hand that we have up is Human Bidgoli, Unit 703. I'm just going to allow you to turn your mic on.
Hi folks, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. I'll try to be as specific as I can. Number one, I'm not sure what's the word, scared that millions of dollars are going to be under the hand of this board. It just seems like a lot of he said, she said. This is not professional on all members. Robert or the rest of the members, apologies, let's apologize to each other, blah, blah, blah. We are talking about the business here, guys. We are talking about taking care of a multi-billion-dollar building. I'm not sure what's going on here, but this is horrible. So that's number one. Number two is, this is a single building. There is no sister building. So we are here and we are going to be competing with Claridge rental. And there is one point that Robert said that kind of echoed with me, was we need to make sure that the budget is as tight as it can be. I have many units in Claridge, 1 Plaza, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are buildings that have brothers and sisters. A lot more units than we have in the Claridge Moon. So there's a lot of more units, a lot more condo fees, a lot more budget that can be used for common areas. With this building, since we are the only building, even though we are sharing with the rental, the other rental Claridge, but we need to make sure that Claridge is not going to eat our lunch, because otherwise it's not going to be a good situation for our building. And I can guarantee you that our condo fees is going to go double or triple. So that echoes to me the fact that Robert wants to keep the budget very tight and questions everything, what we are doing with this money. But again, I'm going to repeat myself. You guys are trying to manage millions of dollars here. By the time that you guys are done and you have the budget, this corporation probably going to have $1 or $2 million of budget that is going to be used for common areas, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that you folks are acting, the way that you're going to manage these millions of dollars, to me right now, it just looks horrible from all members of the board, not just Robert. All 4 other members of the board too. This is a lot of he said, she said. Either get together and make this work, or I think all 5 members need to resign, because again, this is a very huge building. And last but not least, I'm very concerned about the fact that the balcony has crashed, and we haven't heard anything about this. We are talking about, tenants here that can sue everybody because a balcony is a structural part of the building. And, if somebody gets hurt in the middle of this, it's going to be, who's going to sue who? God knows what the story going to be there. But to hear about the balcony crash in this meeting, that's another surprise to me. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Noah, do you want to say anything on that?
Yeah, I can just clarify the balcony crash. So the issue with the balcony crash was essentially that one of the glass panels fell out of the balcony. Immediately what happened is site staff mobilized, they secured all the roadways around the unit and immediately notified Claridge. Claridge was on the issue within 15, 20 minutes at the absolute maximum. They had someone there making the area safe. The issue that happened was a break in the chain of command. Site staff were busy addressing the issue, making sure it was all resolved, making sure it was safe. It wasn't reported back to management, and as a result, we didn't send a notice out to owners. So that's the balcony issue. And it's unfortunate. That's an error on our part. We should have had better communication with site staff. It's since been addressed, and we've tried to improve that, but that's the issue with the balcony glass.
I'll address the question of resignation. If everyone would like to dismantle the board, I am all for that. I want the homeowners in this building to feel like they can trust us and that they feel that we're making good decisions. At the end of the day, that's entirely up to the homeowners to decide. If that is a solution that pleases everybody, I think we would all agree with that if that is the case. I feel we've been showing up, and I feel like we've, as the gentleman before mentioned, this is on a volunteer basis. I feel that we've been following the guidelines to the best of our abilities. And as we're all learning to be directors, you're correct, sir. It is $1 million operation. This is why we chose Sentinel, because they have experience dealing with $1 million. Keep in mind what a property manager is doing. They are supervising the budgets. I am not supervising the budgets, nor are the other board members. We are doing reviewing cost reports, and we're reviewing cash flows and whatnot. But the budget supervision is being mostly handled by Sentinel, as they are experienced, and they are advising us essentially. So all of the decisions we're making is under the advice of Sentinel Management and their history and experience. I get the sense sometimes that there's this idea that there's this symbiotic relationship between Sentinel, Claridge, and I guess maybe board members. I'm not sure why. I don't have any knowledge of Sentinel until I moved into this building, other than when I was a renter before. These decisions that are all being made simply based on the advice we're being given and based on what we're seeing. And I'll add to that and say that we are currently in the black in our operational budget, and we do have a reserve fund. There will be a reserve fund audit that'll determine whether that reserve fund is healthy, and I'm going to be almost certain that it will be. So I hope that answers some of your question. And yes, this is part of it, and this is why we really were not wanting to get to this point where we're having this he said, she said type of, legal dispute, because it is, you're right, sir, it is very silly, and it's fortunately that we're here having this conversation now. But again, for the sake of transparency, it needs to happen, and you need to understand that this is what's happening. And we're hoping that we do have your support. And if we don't, we don't, and that is what it is. But
may I respond?
Yes.
Sure.
So to the unit owners' statements, yes, I do agree that all of us on the board of directors have been behaving unprofessionally to varying degrees. And I think it's just very important for all of the unit owners here to become actively involved in the management of this condominium community. I think it is very dangerous to leave the management of this condo to only a select few numbers of individual unit owners when we have hundreds of unit owners for our condo. And so what I would actually suggest is that if there's anyone interested in joining the board of directors, you definitely should try to run the next time we have elections. And if all the rest of the board of directors here chooses to resign, I will resign with them and then rerun again for election as a board of directors, because I can tell you that I definitely have the best interests of this condo community in mind.
Right. Next hand is Fat Zimena, Unit 2504. Just going to allow you to unmute yourself. Unit 2504, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I totally agree with the gentleman, the previous gentleman who raised the points. I think he raised very valid points that I was about to raise. By the way, before I start, I just want to thank you guys for the work that you've done. I know that it's hard, it's difficult, but from what I'm hearing today, it caused me a lot of concern, because it is, again, a lot of people have said this before. It's here's she says, he says, she says. It reminds me of kind of like a bunch of I wouldn't, a bunch of I don't know, kids, teenagers just bickering over stuff. I hear Robert's issues about concerns that he raised, and I'm also concerned the fact that he is not really a team player. He doesn't show up to meetings and whatnot. So again, there are issues on both ends, and I'm not even sure that his concerns are met with some kind of discussions, or perhaps maybe he didn't allow that discussion to take place. I'm not sure, and I think that he felt that probably the board ignored him or kind of brushed him off without taking his concerns seriously. My other concern, when as the previous gentleman was talking about, is the balcony. It's the first time I hear about this. I was practically shocked when I hear that, because I know that you talk about, there was some, you fumbled the ball on the communication component, but absolutely, I mean, I have tenants who live in the condos I'm at. I'm not sure what happens if something happens to them or some piece of glass that falls over. I think the very least is to be the first thing is that it should be communicating to everybody in the building that there potentially could be some issues with the balcony. And I didn't hear anything, and so that brings me concerns me, because what happens if you talk about transparency, it's not transparency from all ends, whether it's from the board members, from Sentinel, whether it's this and that. So I'm really somewhat concerned, and then we talked about money, legal issues. I mean, $10,000, yeah, it's a few dollars, absolutely. But what happens if, you know, somebody died or somebody breaks a leg or falls over? I don't know what the issues are. The cost of legal issues could be 10 times or 100 times bigger than that. So so the other thing also, perhaps Mr. Tai can speak to, is that I wonder, I hear a lot about the fact that you're not showing up to meetings. I'm wonder whether if you can just spend a couple of minutes to tell us, why are you not engaging with the board, and or is the board not engaging with you back, or are you feel that you're being ignored, or so I'm not really clear why you're not attending the board meetings. And secondly, are the board members are kind of like, it sounds to me, it sounds like 4-on-1, and I'm not sure that's fair for Mr. Tai as well. So I just want to get that sense of interactions at the board, because I don't know, I don't have a clear understanding, or I don't get a clear sense of what's happening with the board.
May I respond first?
Yes, go ahead.
So what the other board members were saying was basically half truth. The truth is that I stopped attending the board meetings after the email from Fursan with the libelous statements he made in his email. And actually, it's at today's meeting that I first learned that Fursan is no longer employed by the Condominium Corporation. And I don't know why I wasn't informed of that. The other part is why I haven't been attending after that point. I do not have evidence, but I believe that even if I were to attend these board meetings, the other four would simply vote in the same fashion and simply vote in a way that I don't believe is in the best interest of the corporation. Now, the question of whether I stay or remain on the board is the decision of the unit owners. All I will say is that regardless of the outcome, I am still committed to the success of this condo, and even as a unit owner, I will do my best to raise awareness about all the issues that we need to face together.
Any other directors want to comment on that last question?
No.
Okay, we will move ahead with the next hand. Sunny Nijar, Unit 708. Just going to allow you to unmute yourself.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just kind of like, I've had great experiences with the management. Like any issues that I have had, they've been actually really good and attentive. Even one of them, and I haven't dealt with you, Noah, but I've dealt with someone else, and they've given me their personal number. I've contacted them, so I haven't had any issues. But you know, I'm a little bit concerned with this back and forth of whatever's happening, like with the board in terms of, I don't even think it's a he said, she said situation. I think it's more like one person may not agree with, like, if people are voting against someone, I don't think it's a personal situation. I think it's just maybe whatever that person's bringing to the board maybe doesn't suit the needs or whatever the reason is. But I mean, if we're having this argument back and forth over it, I don't really think anything's going to get sort of solved. It is the first year. There's going to be tons of glitches. I'm an owner in multiple units for all over the GTA. And that kind of happens. But I think the bickering, I want an apology. I don't want, like, to be honest, can you guys do this on your own personal time? Like, why do we have to bring all the unit people in over? And from what I'm understanding, it's a little bit of an emoji situation. I mean, like, regardless, I don't think in any capacity, whether you agree with what someone has to say, you have any right to show up at their workplace and contact their employees or whatever it may be. Like, to me, that's problematic, and I would have a really difficult time having someone that whether it's aggression, I'm not even sure what that was, but to show up and then to be sitting on our board, for me, is problematic. I don't have anything against you. You might be a great person, whatever it may be, but like, if you're showing up at this girl's workplace, what's going to say you're not going to show up on my unit one day and knock on my door and be mad at me for something that I've said or haven't said? Like, to me, that's more of the, like I know you said he said situation, but I believe that situation happened to Sharon, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So, like, to me, that's problematic. And I know everyone's saying, well, we don't know two sides of the story. Well, regardless of two sides of the story, somebody actually physically showed up at someone's workplace, correct, and harassed her boss or whoever. it may be, for me, it's like very scary.
To be
Like,
clear, it was an
yeah.
email that was sent, and
Yeah.
I understand from your perspective, everyone, you're seeing this as like it's a bickering back and forth, and I will acknowledge that it appears that way. You have to remember that this is stuff that is all documented, and I'm not trying to air out Robert here. That's not the objective. I'll say this: he's actually quite smart and talented on many levels. The issue is not personal here. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the operation of the building. We have to be transparent with you if there's issues. It's not to do anything. It's not to smear Robert. That's not our objective here. Our objective is to just let you know, like, this is the reason it's not working, because we have no other recourse. We can't just remove Robert from the board. We need all of you to vote on this. So for you to vote on this, you need facts and you need a reason. That's, again, the gentleman before was concerned about the budget. We are all concerned about the balcony, but we're concerned about the balcony, in a different way, in the sense that whole Keller engineering process that they're going to review the balconies, that's all part of just our performance audit. They're actually not related things. And I'll say it again, like I am somebody who is very empathetic, and I'm always concerned about safety. This whole thing with the building, and you're not understanding, like, this was during COVID. So we just want to be careful and mitigate risk in terms of anything that's happened to the building. And we don't want to just abandon the budget and say, here's Sentinel, here you go. A number of us have accounting backgrounds on the board. We were selected for reasons. So we just want to do what's best for the building. That's what we're interested in doing here. Just operate and get things resolved. So that's all I can say to that. This is not about bickering for us. We don't want you wasting time. I wish we didn't even have to have this meeting. It's just, there's no other recourse. We have to show you what's happening in order for you to vote and have, I guess, a clear way to make to process this and make a decision that reflects your values.
May I respond?
Yes.
So I'm not sure why Hayden keeps referring to a COVID situation when this incident regarding the balcony happened, I believe, around the summer of this year. So I'm not sure what the argument about COVID is. But I do understand that many perceive my behavior to be unacceptable. However, I also feel that the behavior of the others on the board have been unacceptable to other degrees, but I've already talked about that matter. I'll re-emphasize that I think it's really important that all of the unit owners here who now realize some of the issues facing our condo become more involved in the management of our condo. And I would like nothing better than, say, all 5 of us to be removed as board of directors and have a group of individuals who actually cared about the best interests of the condo and not of a third party, whoever they may be.
We're going to
I'm
move
bringing up
ahead.
COVID because of the supply chain issues that the world was facing. That's why, because that's reality. That's what happened. People were rushing and building and doing a number of things. And I'm saying this because that's what happened. It can be researched in the news. This is what happened with a number of condominiums. It's the rushing. We're trying to mitigate the risk, and careful audits of everything in the building to make sure that the building is sound and secure so that we avoid any legal liability. We don't want to be relying on luck. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, we're going to move to the next hand, which is Igor Katavik, Unit 805. It's going to allow you to unmute. Igor, I can see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. We still can't hear you, unfortunately. Igor, I'm just going to move to the next individual, but if you can maybe just test your mic and before we come back to you, just by using the test feature in Zoom, that might do the trick. Okay, we're going to move to Benjamin Wintle, Unit 2706. And Benjamin, I'm just allowing you to unmute. Benjamin, oh. We're having the same problem with you. I can see your mic is unmuted, but we can't hear you, unfortunately.
It's usually at the bottom left of your screen, the audio button.
Not able to hear either of you, Igor or Benjamin. I'm just going to move ahead to the next owner, but if you're able to sort out your mic issues in the meantime, then we will be able to hear from you. Next owner is Claire D'Souza, unit 2209. Claire, you don't appear to have a mic. I'm not sure if you've got something, maybe you need to plug in a headset or something else, but it doesn't look like Zoom is recognizing that you have a microphone.
Can they type their messages?
Yeah, that's a good point. So you can type your question or your message into the Q&A. So if you click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, a dialog box will open and you can type in there what it is that you want to ask or state. In the meantime, if there's any other owners with questions, you can raise your virtual hand and we can see if we can unmute you. Okay, so there is a couple hands going up. Okay, I'm going to try Igor again. Igor, if you can go ahead and try to unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening. You hear me now?
Hi. Yes, we can. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, I'll try to be brief, even though I have multiple questions, and I'm speaking as a pretty recent owner. In fact, we moved in 2 months ago. So first of all, I mean, thank you all board members, all of you, for your efforts. I'm not able to speak yet about, have any opinions about the work being done or the results of it, but I see the efforts from all of you. It was very disappointing and rather concerning to see all those issues and exchange of information via different channels, right? Especially that we received a letter asking us to vote for removal of a member without providing any concrete information. That was my biggest reproach to the board members who organized this meeting, because if I don't have enough information, I cannot vote on something, and I'm going to vote for status quo, right? The first information, tangible, information I got was from Robert via a letter sent to every owner, right? Then I see, I have, many questions, many things were happening. Because we just bought the condo a few months ago, and I already saw some changes that differ completely from what has been sold to us. And I'm asking, I would like, not now, it's not the time, but transparency-wise, right? Lack of transparency. I don't know who's taking those decisions. And are you consulting the owners, and where is that money spent? Where is it going? For example, two direct points. One, it has been told to us by the representative of Claridge, who sold us the condo, that there's going to be visitor parking. Now, all of a sudden, we see that it has been removed, and it's a paid parking. Paid by whom, to whom, and where's the funds are? Where are the funds going? Second point, that was very, very disappointing, and I'm going to ask questions when I have more time, because we just moved in, about the meeting room, or what is called party room, because when we visited many times the place, there were people working, inside, using it. Then we learn, when we moved in, that not only you have to reserve it, that's fine, and that you need to, there's a deposit, that's fine, but you need to pay for it. I never heard about any building anywhere that you need to pay to use your own room, right? Anyways, so those, I only have those two, for example, for now, but I'll have questions for the board. Well, I know that both sides took some missteps, wrong decisions. Like, as example, I reproach to Mr. Robert the fact that he contacted the employer of one of the board members. On the other side, I also completely disliked the answer on a serious issue. You know, that famous emoji. In my opinion, it shows a lack of humility, civility, and professionalism also. So I have both sides that had some missteps, and also what happened to that email address that you created, that Robert was the only active board member who didn't receive the emails from the owners. So there's a lot of questions being raised, but let's look up front, right? If you ask me, the best would be to keep all of you for now and to try to work things together, because I think everyone is trying to protect ours and theirs, because we're all owners, best interests. It's too bad that we didn't have more time, you know, to listen to all of your arguments, then take a decision a few days after, and not tonight. You know, it's going to be very hard to decide. And finally, Robert, question for Robert: would you do something if you stay on the board? Would you do something differently? I mean, of course, you need to work together with the rest of the members, even if they vote in a different way than you. You can still ask, you know, critical questions and then communicate that to us, right? It's very important. But you, I would like to get an answer from Robert. You know, what would you like? What would you do differently if you would do something differently if you stay on the board? And that's about it for now. Thank you all for the time.
Maybe I'll just answer the first few questions before it goes to Robert. So question 1, visitors parking, 100% an issue, 100% on our radar. We're working with legal counsel and Christy's firm to renegotiate the shared facilities agreement with Claridge. We have a period of time to be able to do this. That process is well underway and active, and our goal is to get all the owners what they were promised, and we will fight for that because that's our job. The second question, can you just remind me what the second question was?
The party room.
Party room. Yeah. So party room, we're reviewing this policy actively, and I've just changed it again. The intent of the fee is industry standard. Most condos that we manage, there is a fee to use the party room. A few reasons for that. One is the cleaning and additional costs incurred to be able to maintain that room for a party. 2, there's also the supply. It's also essentially a somewhat of a barrier. If there's no fee to book that room, owners are going to be inclined to book it all the time, and that's going to create further conflicts with the other owners because they're not going to be able to book it when they need it. So we take your feedback. Happy to hear more feedback on that. Policy is actively being reviewed, but as I said, most buildings that have a party room, there is a fee to use that.
So if I may jump in on that party room, so we just requested that Sentinel remove that fee, and that you can only if you wanted that room exclusively, you would pay a fee for exclusive use. Otherwise, we want that party room open. We think everyone should have access to it. And that's what's recently changed. Same goes for the theater room, that we have full access to that theater room. If somebody wants to have it exclusively for an event or something, which of course would not allow other people to use it for a period of time, you can rent that hourly as well. So that's the change, because yes, the room has been more or less locked off, and in order to access it, and I think that's what the gentleman's speaking to, we didn't like that either. We didn't think it made sense that a party room that, you know, is there's limited space in the building to begin with. That's a pretty good social space for people to use. So we've opened up the party room as the idea, and then there will be a fee to use it exclusively, and the same will go for the theater. I hope that that's adequate and everybody's in line with that. So if you want to have, you know, family over, guests, a private party, birthday party, you just pay a fee for the room to use it exclusively for a period of time. Otherwise, the room is free for use for you at any time.
And we just made that change at the last board meeting. The 4 of us voted unanimously to open that up without. So unless you're having a reception, then everyone can use it how they wish, unless you pay the money to book it off.
All right, thank
May I
you.
respond now?
Yes, go ahead.
So the question for me was, what will I do or do differently if I do remain on the board? If I remain on the board, I will continue working in the best interests of the unit owners of the condo corporation. That means reviewing all of the financial statements to make sure that nothing wrong is happening, making sure that Sentinel Management is actually performing their jobs as the condo manager, and if not, continually raising issues if necessary, and making sure that other parties such as Claridge Homes do not take advantage of our condo, especially as it concerns the shared facilities agreement.
Yeah, 100. And I'm just going to comment on Sentinel Management because Sentinel Management has got thrown into this quite a bit. This is our livelihood. This is our company. We pride ourselves in managing condos. We manage 80 plus condos in the city of Ottawa. We do it with pride. We do it with integrity. We're here to help the board. Our business philosophy is we partner with boards. We say, what's your vision? We help them deliver it. That's what we're prepared to do at the Moon. We, as it's been mentioned, we've helped the Icon from a previous management company. We turned the Icon into complete 180. We're here to help. We also have to rely on the professionals that we have. You have a lawyer, Christy and Emily, that are on this call. They're reviewing the shared facilities agreement. We are aware of timelines and deadlines that we have, but we are here to help progress the dial forward with the board of directors to work cohesively, and that's why we're here to do that. So just to signal that we're here to help and we're here to work. We're not here to pick sides or get in the middle of anything. All we want to do is have a fully functioning board so we can spend our time and our efforts managing the affairs of your condo.
And I'll add to that and say that we're concerned with the operational budget and the reserve fund, and we are certainly not being negligent and not reviewing the financials because that is not true at all. We've been at every meeting to review those financials with Evan and with Noah and with everybody else who's had the opportunity to chat with us.
Right, thank you. There are a few questions in the Q&A. So there was a question from Ximena Duran, which is, although the only purpose of the meeting is to vote regarding the removal of a director, I want to highlight that issues related to communication and transparency with the owners is a big issue. Is the board keeping minutes of the meetings? And then Robert had typed an answer, yes, they are. I believe they should be distributed to the unit owners without them having to ask for it. I just wanted to confirm, Noah, how minutes of board meetings are distributed to owners.
Yeah, so they're available by request right now. So anytime any owner would like to see board meeting minutes, they can simply request them. There's a prescribed form that you can use. And yeah, so at this point, that's how they're being, that's how minutes are available if you'd like them.
Claire D'Souza was able to have her question typed out. So Unit 2209, first thing, I haven't received Robert's email, and I assume that other owners haven't as well, so I'm missing information. It sounds like Robert raises some good points about the management of the condo, albeit in a way that is not collaborative or appropriate, and the board is highlighting his lack of collaboration as a problem, whereas Robert is highlighting concerns with the condo management. My question is, given the history within the board, if the board directors remain the same, can all directors, including Robert, commit to working collaboratively in the future? And if they can they elaborate on how they plan on doing this? So perhaps we can just start with Hayden, and then we'll just have each of the directors comment on that question.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, as far as I was concerned, we were always working collaboratively. I'm not sure where it went wrong, to be perfectly honest with you. I came here just to volunteer and help. That was essentially it. Like everybody else. I have no intentions of being exclusive. Robert's ideas are welcome. He's not been blocked from attending board meetings. There's nothing that has been exclusive. We are inclusive. We've been trying to be inclusive. I've had face-to-face conversations with Robert. I've tried to ask him, what are the issues? Talk to me. I want to hear you. I want to understand your perspective, where you're coming from. I've given him that opportunity a number of times. I just don't want to be viewed as incompetent and the other insults that are thrown my way, because I don't see things the way that he sees it in a moment. I believe in giving people a chance. I believe in giving Sentinel a chance. I believe in giving even Claridge a chance. And I'm highly skeptical. I'll tell you this, I was highly skeptical of everybody at the beginning. Property managers, the developer, I was like that at the beginning. And as I've been going through this process and I understand the workload, I realize the importance of collaboration. I've said this to Noah a number of times. I've told him I was highly skeptical. And then I started to realize what some of the problems are. And most of it is what we're seeing here. It's a breakdown of communication, and it's everything that I deal with in my own company and that I'm dealing with day to day. This is just the nature of the beast, and communication is key. So to answer your question, if we were going to move forward with Robert, I would expect that we could have healthy, open communication, full transparency. I want you to know the numbers as homeowners of everything. There's no reason for us to have secrets. This whole idea that there isn't transparency right now. There's been communication breakdown, absolutely. There's been some balls dropped, no question. But this idea that there is, people that are withholding information or that the budget's haywire or something is absolutely not true. You can see this for yourself. So I will say that if we are to continue with Robert, if that is an option, then we definitely need to be on the same page. And I would expect that if we're going to go through the trials of this condo authority director's training, and we're going to learn all these rules and policies and regulations and behavior and conduct, and we're not going to follow those rules, that's how we end up here. There are specific rules, and our legal representative is here to remind everybody here that is why we're here, is because we're not following the rules. I understand the perspective that it's he said, she said. There's just rules, and the rules will unite us in terms of our communication. We have to follow them, otherwise it won't work. We might as well just keep replacing everybody. So we're trying to volunteer to help you to see that we're just here to help. If we're not the right people, I have no problem with that. But I still feel strongly that I feel like we might be. It's just getting this communication thing figured out and getting everyone on the same page. And I would love to understand what the problems are, because everything is in motion. It is a process. There are stages. We're going to be doing this for the next 7 years. Whether I'm on the board or off the board, I'll still be here as a homeowner, I imagine. I'll still be weighing in on this stuff. So that's my perspective on it. Communication's key. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayden. I'm going to ask Alan to go next. Just to refresh your memory, the question is, given the history of the board, if the board remains the same, can all directors commit to working collaboratively in the future? And if they can you elaborate on how you plan to do this?
I'll be staying on the board as long as the other directors stay on. I don't think that we need to collapse the board or anything. If other directors feel we can't work together, then I'll probably also resign with them. I think we can all work together, and I think Robert is a smart guy. He just has to, I don't know what he has to do, but he has to change and realize that, okay, he has a vote and his opinion matters, but there's 4 other people and he has to respect our opinion. We voted to keep Sentinel in, for example, because they know the building. We're doing our performance audit. The most important thing that you can do in a condo is the performance audit. So we want a company in there that knows the building, knows the issues. So we wanted to keep them, and they work for us, to be clear. They don't work for Claridge. They work for us. So to answer the question, yes, I think we can function. If no one else resigns, I'm staying on also.
Right, thank you. Sharon?
I agree with everything Hayden and Alan just said. But if it came down to having a meeting to remove Robert, we obviously did try many times to work as a team, but if it came down to this, this was the last resort. So I would just resign in the end if we can't work together as a group of 5.
All right, thank you. Cassandra?
I mean, I feel like we've each individually reached out to Robert, and we never said anything was wrong with his ideas or like how just his ideas in general, but it was more so the way he communicated and just lacked respect for everyone else on the board. So I feel like if he's always welcome to the board meeting, he just chooses not to show up. But we're always open to sharing the ideas and having to hear his ideas if he decides to join us. But personally, based on my interactions with Robert, I'm not entirely sure I would want to stay on the board to work with him either, based on like how everything has gone down.
Okay, thank you. And Robert?
So there were a lot of things that that really concern me with the current other board of directors. And this has to do, as I already mentioned, with the shared facilities agreement and this notion that Sentinel Management should be acting as the Tyrion designate for $150 per hour, when I received notice from Tyrion themselves that this is often a volunteer position held by a director on the board. So imagine if this so-called work, quote unquote, ended up costing maybe 1,000 hours of work. That could be $150,000 paid to Sentinel Management in a situation where this is a very clear conflict of interest that they themselves are asking themselves to be the representative and then profit at the same time. So even if I stay on as the board, as I said before, I intend to fight for the best interests of the condominium corporation itself, even if the other four continually to vote in a way that I think is not in the best interests of the condo.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just jump in here. As you've said, as already stated, the shared facilities agreement is being reviewed by legal counsel. It's a legal document. We're aware of all the timelines. We're within those timelines. We're going to negotiate the best possible shared facilities agreement for all the owners. That's our objective. In terms of Sentinel being the Tyrion designate, absolutely not a conflict of interest. It's in fact industry standard. Most property management companies, if not all that are prepared to actually do this, would charge extra for this. If you look at our track record, we have experience in doing this. Again, we worked at the Claridge Icon where we've went from about 2,600 deficiencies with Claridge. We've worked that list down into the hundreds. We'll continue to do that. We're paid by you as the condo owners. We're here to work for you as the condo owners and advocate for all the deficiencies and have them fixed and replaced. So that's the Sentinel stance on that.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
I had already consulted with a different property management company, and their property owner management employee stated that they do not charge extra for Tyrion work, and that they agreed that is often a volunteer director on the board who serves as a Tyrion designate for free and not for $150 per hour.
Okay, and what I can say, Robert, is that I was just at a conference in Toronto. It was the CCI ACMO conference, and I partook in a working group with all the major property management companies in Toronto. Most of them actually have divisions set up, and their primary line of business is to do this, and it's at an a la carte rate. So, I mean, again, this is a he said, she said thing. My stance here, as I've said, is to work for all the unit owners and to fix the deficiencies and have Claridge pay for the deficiencies. That's what you get in return for our fee. We bring to the table expertise, a background, and a history of doing this at other condos in the city.
All right, thank you.
Common for property managers to do this, and Robert is correct. It could be an individual. I'm not going to deny that because there's no reason to deny it. He's correct, but I will say this. It's not uncommon for it to also be a representative of the property management firm. You can research that. It's a real thing. There's nothing untowards here that is out of the ordinary that we're attempting to do. From our perspective, you can save a buck and you can take a risk and potentially have assessments down the line that may shock you. And they can be very high. And that's what scared me. And that's what concerned me. It's a pay later type of scenario. That's how I see it.
One other point is the person that we have as the designate has experience, whereas I believe Robert has never done this before, and I don't think he has a construction background as far as I know. So we have someone with experience or someone without. You decide.
May I respond?
And this is money that we can recover. The deficiencies get fixed, and most things can get recovered later. So we need to be very good at doing this and have the perfect person. We don't want to take a risk here.
May I respond?
Yes.
I think the unit owners have heard both sides on this argument. All I'll tell you is that based off the information that I've shared with the unit owners, they can tell to what degree of attention to detail I actually pay towards the well-being of this condominium corporation, and that if I were to serve as the volunteer designate, I would obviously do everything that I could to recover as much money as I could from Claridge Homes for the benefit of our condo.
And why do you believe that that would not be our interest, Robert? I live here as well. It's exactly what I want.
I would just also add that from a practicality perspective, I would say 70% of this work is going to happen during regular business hours in terms of dealing with contractors like Claridge is paying for, orchestrating access to units. There's an immense list of duties here. And again, given we've done this before, we're aware of what those duties look like. And that would be my concern is I understand, Robert, you have a full-time job, and I don't know how you'd be able to accommodate this during working hours. As an example, at the Icon, we were just in about 100 different units, doing various work, escorting contractors and arranging access, supervising the work to make sure it's done satisfactorily.
And as I already stated, I had consulted with another property management company that stated that that is part of their standard fees, and that they worked with volunteer directors as designate for the Terrion designate for the other condos they managed. And those were volunteers working for free.
Yep, I can't speak to any other property management companies without seeing what they're providing. All I can say is that Sentinel, if we're putting our name on something, we're going to do it right. In return, for us to make it to be a business and to make our money and pay our employees, we have to charge for it. And for us, it's about a value proposition that hopefully we can go through this process, yes, make money, but provide value for all the owners. That's what's proven to be successful for us in the marketplace with the other condos we've worked for.
Well, you just admitted that you have a conflict of interest here because you would financially benefit from this. So I welcome all of the unit owners who are interested in this topic to email me, and I can share you the evidence that I have related to this topic.
And this is how we end up spending our time. So you're seeing it firsthand here, folks. This is exactly my point. Instead of doing the things that this wonderful gentleman could be doing as a fifth board member, we are once again going to focus our time on things like this. And this is the point I'm trying to make. Every time we make a decision, there's a counterpoint. And counterpoints are wonderful and they're great. But I think you can all hear that this is simply a checklist and making sure that we are not missing any deficiencies. I think that's a big deal considering an assessment in Toronto that cost homeowners $40,000 per unit recently. That concerns me. That concerns me. And no offense, Robert, I don't know your track record with this. That concerns me.
Well,
because there's a lot that could be doing with your background. Very helpful to us. And I wish we would focus on those things. We would love our
I call this transparency into the financial operations of our condo. And I think all of the unit owners have a right to understand what is going on here.
Show me where they weren't transparent. Show me where they haven't done their job. Show me where they're funneling money. Show me where you're making some very crazy accusations here that you have no basis for. You don't know.
I have a basis for this. I have all of the email evidence.
We've asked you times for you to present this. Please present what you have then. You're all here. Lay it out.
I did present it to you, and apparently you just ignore it. I'll give you a good example of this.
I'm very interested as a homeowner. Think about this. I'm interested as a homeowner in driving up property fees because I have nothing else to do than do the things that we've all been doing. We've all been spending time. Where have you been at the board meetings?
So answer this question, Hayden. Answer this question. Why did Sentinel Management omit the board of directors from the Terrion Common Elements form that had to be signed by the board of directors before being submitted to Terrion? I have email evidence that that process was not done, that Evan did not have our input on this. He did not have our signatures on the required form, and therefore I had no idea that such a thing had actually happened. And that's related to the Terrion turnover of documents. That is email evidence that I have. That is concrete evidence that I can show in court.
Well, this is evidence right here that we are clearly not going to be able to work as a board, and this is clearly evidence that this is not making any sense because the ship has sailed. We've had these conversations repeatedly. We have asked you repeatedly, present things to us. You don't present things. You don't show up. I am showing up. Everyone else here is showing up. We are doing the work. That is what matters here. That is what the issue is right here, is we are doing the work. You're not doing the work. You're making a bunch of problems and a bunch of grand statements that could expose us to liability, and you're not backing it up with anything. So show us what it is. But you don't have anything, and this is the point. You continue to go down this narrative in this rabbit hole and wasting everybody's time. You need to show us. face to face. Olivia will testify. I asked you face to face, what are your concerns? What are your issues? Talk to us. Let's work together. You shrugged me off, rolled your eyes in front of everybody. And I said, don't do that. I said,
Just,
All right.
just to
I think
interject
we-
for a second, may I interject for just 1 second? So when we vote on something, then if I vote the other way, I'm still going to follow what was voted, and that's what the real issue is. If I dissent on something, and the other board members want to do it a certain way, I respect their decision. For example, I wanted to put art in the lobby, and we decided not to for now. To me, that's very important, but to them, it's not. That's fine. I understand that. So here's the problem that I have with Robert is we voted on these things. We made a decision, and he doesn't respect the decision. He still wants to do it his way. He doesn't respect the board's votes. And all this form that wasn't signed, what's the word? Maybe it's a bit of bureaucracy, but it's probably not that big a deal, but he might explain it and make it into a big deal. Wording the balcony problem as a crashed balcony, I think that's a bit strong. I know that's a serious issue. So anyways, that's all I have to say for now. Just wanted to interject.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And I think we're going to move on. There's a few more questions, and I just want to make sure that owners have an opportunity to ask their questions. There's a number of questions in the Q&A and comments, so I'm going to run through them. I have noticed there's a number of questions related to things that are not at issue tonight, so specific issues related to the condominium and common elements and things like that. I'm not going to address those. I'm going to skip through those, and those can be addressed to Noah following the meeting. Okay. The board and the property manager are contacted at the same address is a question from Natalie Perron at 2601. And I'm not, so
I think
there's,
it's the address for service. Some of the board members have chosen to make that our address, so then we would just send it to their attention. Yeah, owners are entitled to the addresses of all the owners in the building through the request for records module, and I think there's also a board shared email that has been established as well if you want to communicate to the board directly.
thank you. And then the question from Benjamin Wintle, Unit 2706. I've served as a volunteer director on another tower myself and understand that it is a lot of work, especially at first. At times, it seems a thankless job. I wanted to express my appreciation, especially to Hayden, who appears to be the right person to lead the board. My questions are as follows. Number one, what is the situation with our requirement and timelines? Are we on track? I think that that's a question that relates to other things, not specific to this meeting.
We can answer it quickly, though. As far as I'm concerned with the conversation with Noah and Evan, yes, we are on track so far.
Yeah, everything is on track.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, number two, what is the process for adding the fifth board member? How soon would that happen? Benjamin, I'm assuming the question relates to if Robert were to be removed this evening, what is the process for adding the fifth board member back in? The process is that the remaining board members would appoint a fifth member pending the next AGM. So they would appoint a fifth member, and that person would serve on the board until the next AGM, at which point the vacancy, the position on the board would be vacant and subject to an election. Benjamin also provides the comment, I don't think it would be wise to have a new board of directors elected at this time. I hope Hayden, Cassandra, Allen, and Sharon continue to serve voluntarily. Unit 2106, Mauricio Ruiz. Does Sentinel also manage the rental building as well?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Thank you. Unit 1511, Valerie Toller. I am feeling that Robert Ty continued to disrupt the job our board needs to do. Please, condo owners, if we continue with Robert, we will fall into disarray. And I also see how he has disrespected one of our board members by unlawfully and unreasonably infiltrating her place of work. It's just common sense. We cannot make someone like this represent us.
I'll add to that. What are
Okay.
the next condo manager or property manager, if it isn't Sentinel, how do you have guarantees that this behavioral pattern won't continue?
Okay, there is a question from Igor Katavik, Unit 805. Mr. Tai, would you commit to regular participation at the board meetings if you stay as a member of the board?
Yes, I would participate. However, as I mentioned before, I intend to vote in the best interests of the condominium corporation and the unit owners, and not to any third party, whoever they might be.
That doesn't really answer the question, though, if I may interject.
My answer was yes.
He answered yes.
Okay.
Okay, and there is another question about the procedure. Is the upcoming vote done by a secret ballot? It is a secret ballot. There's actually, there won't be a record of who voted how. There will be a record of how the vote, what the end result was. I do believe there's just a few more hands raised. And then we will get to the vote. And I appreciate everybody's patience. Oops, I just raised my own hand. I appreciate everybody's patience here this evening. We will be wrapping up very soon. Unit 601, Myrna Murad, I'm just going to allow you to unmute yourself. We're having the same issue with you, Myrna. Oh, thought I heard something. No, unfortunately, it seems that your mic isn't working. I can see you're unmuted, but we're just not able to hear you.
Can she possibly type a question?
Pardon, Hayden?
Were they able to type in their question? Some people were doing that, I thought.
Yeah, yep. Myrna, if you're able to put your question into the Q&A, that would be maybe the best place. We do have another hand, Natalie Pell. Oh, did we hear, was that Myrna? No, sorry. I thought I heard your mic come on there, Myrna, but it's not working. We'll have to get you to type your question into the Q&A. Natalie Perrin, Unit 2601. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to unmute. Hopefully.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I raised my hand a few minutes ago, so it might be a moot point now. My question was one of procedure. My concern was that this debate is not going to be resolved in this session clearly. And so at what point do we move to a vote, please?
Yeah, we are just about to move to a vote. I agree that it's time to bring the debate, so to speak, to an end. I just wanted to ensure that owners have an opportunity because of the nature of the vote. I want to make sure that they have a chance to ask their questions. Okay. Next owner is Gordon Cummings, Unit 2402. Gordon, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi. Yeah, just a couple of comments. I guess I'm an owner, but not occupier. But I've had a number of years of experience on boards and public companies and public funds. And for me, the issue here is really this is really a governance issue for me. And as a board director, it's important for anyone to understand that their voice is a part of a group, and that there's a democratic process in a board, and that process has to be respected in order for the board to function properly. You can't operate as an individual. If the board is going to maintain its focus as a functioning body, so for me, I have to sort of divorce some of the individual issues about the condo from the governance perspective, which I think is really the focus of this meeting. I don't see, if someone is behaving as an individual and is not listening to the voice of the board as a whole, for me it's problematic. It's not going to function properly, and I think that everything is just going to grind to a halt, and that we can't have that happen. So for me, this is pretty clear, and I'd be more than happy to see this go to a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, I'll just read out. There's one further comment in the Q&A, and then I think we're going to move ahead with the vote because I don't see any other hands, and this is the last comment in the Q&A. It's from Valerie Toller, Unit 1511. I've been in new home construction sales since 1994, and I have a good understanding of the common sense and reasonable way in dealing with people and to speak and make decisions on behalf of the good of our owners. Thank you, Valerie, for that. Okay, and we're going to go ahead now and get ready for the vote. So Emily Deng, my associate, is going to explain the voting process. Before we do get to the vote, I did want to note that for owners who have already cast their vote through advanced voting or through filling out the electronic proxy form, you do have an opportunity if you're here tonight to revoke that proxy or that previous vote and to cast your vote afresh after having heard from the various individuals that you've heard from tonight. So that is something that will be done before we move ahead with the vote. So with that having been said, I'm going to ask Emily to just explain the process to owners, please.
Thanks, Christy. Right, so as Christy said, you do have an opportunity now before we start the vote. So the vote hasn't been started yet. This is just to provide an opportunity for those who want to revoke their proxies if you've already submitted your vote through a proxy. If you're joined on your computer, you should be able to see a sort of screen to the right of the video that you see on your screen. There should be a little box that a white box that either shows that you voted or shows that there's nothing to be voted on at the moment. If you've joined on your mobile phone, you'll have to go back to your email and click on the link that you used to join this meeting to go to your meeting portal if you'd like to revoke your proxy. If you don't want to do anything and you want your vote that you've submitted via proxy to stand, you don't need to do anything at this time. Or if you haven't submitted a proxy and you just want to vote live, you also don't have to do anything at this time until the vote has started. So I'll just maybe give people 5 minutes to revoke their proxy if they want to. If you have any trouble doing that, you can send me, I guess, put your question in the Q&A, and then I can help you that way.
All right, thanks, Emily. And so for now, there is just going to be sort of a pause in the meeting just while we go through these procedural steps. So please just bear with us. Once the voting takes place, the meeting will be adjourned. So we are coming to an end. And again, I do want to thank you for your patience and for being here and for participating in tonight's meeting.
Okay, so just another minute for anyone who wants to revoke their proxy, and then we'll open the vote.
Emily, you're muted. I'm not sure if you're providing
Sorry.
instructions.
Yeah, so I've just closed the proxy revocations and started the vote. So if you've joined on your computer, you should be able to see your voting portal pulled up on the side there on the right side and see that there's something to be voted on. And if you're having any trouble, you should go back to your email, go to the same link that you would have used to join the meeting and access your portal that way. I do see some votes coming in, so it looks like people are finding their voting portals and links. If you have any trouble finding your voting link, you can send a message in the Q&A and I'll be able to provide you with your personal voting link in a private message in the Q&A. I can see that most of the people in attendance have cast their ballots already, so we'll just give a few more minutes for anyone else that hasn't yet voted. All right, so I'm going to turn off the voting in about 3 minutes. So anyone else who hasn't had a chance to vote yet, please cast your ballot. Or if you're having trouble, send a message in the Q&A. All right, voting is now closed. Christy, back to you.
Thank you, Emily. So we do have the results of the vote. The motion does not pass. There were 117 votes for Mr. Ty's removal, 31 against his removal, and 3 chose not to vote. And just a reminder that in order for this motion to pass, normally votes just require a majority of those present at the meeting, which if that were the case here, it would have passed by quite a bit. But this particular vote requires a majority vote of all owners in favor. So you required 134 owners voting in favor of this motion for it to pass. So you were 17 votes shy. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this evening's meeting. I am going to need a motion to close the meeting. If I can please have a mover and seconder on the motion, you can move or second the motion by raising your virtual hand. I would appreciate it. Thank you, Claire, Unit 2209 is the mover, and Gordon, Unit 2402 is the seconder on the motion. And then I guess do we have a poll for this? Yes, to close the meeting. So I'm going to launch a poll, and I'll ask you all to go ahead and cast your vote on this motion to close the meeting. Great, just another couple seconds here, and I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'll share the results, and you can see that all those who voted in favor of this motion, so the motion passes, and we are now adjourned. Thank you once again for your time and for your attention and participation tonight. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you all have a great night.